This video is sponsored by Chimera. Shop affordable, high-quality apparel for everyday use at chimera.com. Hi everyone, I'm FlygonHG, and this is the video of my attempts at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Black 2 using only Electric Type Pokémon. To see what I define as Hardcore Nuzlocke Rules, check out the description below. But in short, no items in battle, no overleveling past the gym leader's ace before the start of the battle, and we're playing on set mode. There are only 61 Electric Type Pokémon in existence, making them quite rare. Electric types tend to fare fairly well into most matchups, since they only have one weakness, and they're usually really fast and can fire off powerful Electric type attacks that very few Pokémon can resist. The downside of that is when Pokémon do resist Electric type attacks, or in the case of Ground type Pokémon, when they're completely immune to them, things get tricky very quickly, because Electric types tend to have pretty limited coverage options, especially in the earlier generations. But still, Electric types do often have a few neat tricks at their disposal to better handle some potential scary threats. So, without any further ado, here is the electrifying tale of how 6 little Pokémon shocked the world and became champions of the Unova League. Or maybe we wipe, who's to say? But just as a quick reminder before we start, I play with species claws, so I'll be able to reroll encounters until I get a unique encounter, but I can only use one of each unique evolution line. Okay, now let's see how this goes. Our story begins on a beautiful overlook in Aspertia City. I meet up with Bianca, who is here to offer me one of 3 Pokémon. But shockingly, none of them are Electric types, so my choice doesn't really matter here. I pick Oshawott so that my rival will have Snivy, which I guess could sorta be the hardest one since Grass resists Electric type attacks, but who knows. After the usual early game tutorials, I head to the ranch that I don't want to look up how to pronounce, and I catch a sweet, adorable little Mareep. This fluffy piglet will be the starter of the run. I name him Edison, after the famous Canadian actor Matthew Edison. Edison has an adamant nature, which isn't what I'd call optimal, but he's got a feisty spirit and he's ready to kick some tail. Plus he's so darn fluffy, how can you not love the little guy? With some leveling up, it's time for Edison to face his first trial, a solo sweep of the first gym. Sharon is unironically a pretty difficult first gym leader to face, since his level cap is so low and stab buff tackle hits pretty hard. Especially since he likes to use workup, this can be pretty hard for a single Pokémon to handle. Fortunately, Edison doesn't mess around and is ready to abuse one of the most frustrating status conditions in the game, paralysis. Sharon starts with Patrat, so I immediately get off a Thunder Wave as he uses workup to boost his attack and special attack. Then I go for a Growl to lower his attack as Patrat hits a fairly hard tackle. Then I start clicking Growl as Patrat tries to get back to +1 with more workups. It isn't long until Patrat gets fully paralyzed, which means that Patrat is now at -1 attack. This lets me get off a Thunder Shock for free, which takes just shy of half of Patrat's HP, and then Patrat just uses workup to get back to neutral. On the next turn, I shoot my shot and try to get a high roll to knock out the Patrat, but he hangs on in the red and sets up another workup. So Charon then heals, but I make sure to Growl to bring Patrat back down to neutral. Since Charon's potion didn't fully heal Patrat, Edison is now safe to fire off 2 more Thunder Shocks to kill the Patrat as he just uses another workup. And with that, Edison grows to level 14, which is fine since the level cap ends at the start of the battle according to my personal rules. Lillipup comes in next. I go for another Thunder Wave, but Lillipup outspeeds and hits Edison with a Tackle, which actually procs Static and paralyzes Lillipup, rendering Edison's follow-up Thunder Wave completely redundant and useless, and of no value. An Oranberry also keeps Edison happy and healthy. From here, it's time for the Growl plus Paralysis strat, which works instantly as Lillipup gets fully paralyzed. So I hit a Thunder Shock for some damage, and then Lillipup sets up a workup. So I go for another Thunder Shock, and then Lillipup gets fully paralyzed for a second time. It looks like it might actually be a roll for another Thunder Shock to kill Lillipup here, but we'll never find out, because BDE Edison nails Lillipup with a critical hit Thunder Shock to win the battle. For all the times that I've been cheesed by paralysis against Electric type gym leaders, that felt pretty good. Call me Watson HG. With the new level cap, Edison evolves into a Flaffy, which has one of my favorite spellings of any Pokemon name. So clever and so unnecessary. The weight of the world is also no longer solely on Edison's shoulders as I get my second recruit, a Magnemity from Verbank Complex. In White 2 you can also find Elekid here, but I chose Black 2 so that I was guaranteed a Magnemity. I name our new friend Tesla. Tesla has a bashful nature, so while they aren't quite as headstrong as Edison, that won't stop them from ravaging large portions of this game. Starting first with the second gym leader, who specializes in poison types. Roxy's Pokemon can barely touch Tesla as they plow through them with a combination of Thundershock and Sonic Boom. Before the nerf to Steel types, they had an unbelievable amount of resistances, and both Magneton and Magnezone are incredible Pokemon, defensively and offensively. I honestly think this challenge would be impossible without this little magnet of mass destruction. Anyways, with that, that's Roxy defeated, and the second gym badge acquired. That gets us to Castelia City, where after crawling through the sewers to find Team Plasma, like some sort of ninja mutant teenage turtle, it's time to challenge Berg. Berg is a bit of an issue here since 2 of his Pokemon resist electric type attacks, and one of them, Leavanny, hits pretty hard. But it's nothing a bit of paralysis hacks can't handle. Berg leads with Swadloon, and I lead with Tesla, who is holding an Eviolite. I instantly paralyze the Swadloon with Thunder Wave as he retaliates with a super weak Strugel-Booge. So then I switch out to Edison on the next turn and get hit with a String Shot. But since Thunder Wave quarters Swadloon's speed, it's going to take quite a few String Shots before he outspeeds. So Edison starts firing off returns as Swadloon desperately shoots his strings. Berg wastes his Hyper Potion here, so Edison just continues to adamantly hit the Swadloon with return for a decent amount of damage. When Swadloon is in the red, I switch to Tesla, who takes another String Shot. Then a Magnet Bomb finishes off the Swadloon, which gets Tesla to level 25, where they learn Mirror Shot, which is vital to handling Leavanny. Edison also grows to level 25 and learns Electro Ball, though that's not really important here. Berg brings in Dwebble second. He hits a soft smackdown, and then Tesla claps back with his newly learned Mirror Shot, which brings Dwebble down to his sturdy. Then I switch to Edison, who shrugs off the smackdown and heals back a bit of damage with his leftovers. Then an Electro Ball finishes off the Dwebble. Leavanny is last, so it's time to get a little cheeky. He fires off a hard Razor Leaf, and Edison gets off a Thunder Wave. Edison is now at risk to a crit, so I switch back to Tesla, and Leavanny instantly gets fully paralyzed. Then Tesla hits a Mirror Shot, which instantly crits the Leavanny and knocks it out in one shot. With our Eviolite and the speed drop from paralysis, I think that this was always going to be a win since Berg likely would have just tried to use String Shot a bunch to lower Tesla's speed. But the critical hit Mirror Shot saves me some time and Berg some string, which I guess can instead be used to weave some new flashy scarves, since apparently Leavanny loves making clothes for helpless losers. Surely the clothing that Leavanny weaves can't be that comfortable though, right? I mean, look at this shoddy workbug ship. Fortunately, if you're looking for quality clothing, and I mean, who isn't, then you should check out this video sponsor, Chimera. I'm not totally sold on the quality of that ad segue there, but hey, maybe this meta comment about it makes up for that. Chimera is an apparel company that carries a wide range of products from unique graphic tees to simple t-shirts, sweatshirts, jackets, and more. Chimera only uses premium materials to ensure that their products are high quality and as comfortable as possible. Leavanny could never. Chimera also vets their entire supply chain to ensure fair and ethical labor practices as well as environmentally sustainable manufacturing. But none of that comes at the expense of competitively priced products. For example, a premium t-shirt from Chimera runs for about $20, whereas similar items can cost upwards of $40 from larger brands. For me, Chimera's basic t-shirts are perfect. I'm particularly fond of the long sleeve tee, which is incredibly comfortable for when I'm streaming, lounging around at home, or some other third thing that doesn't make me seem like I have no life. But the graphic tees are equally as comfortable if that's more your style. They don't do that thing that some graphic tees do where the inside sticks to your stomach and you suddenly become like hyper aware of how sweaty you are. You know that thing? Anyways, with fast shipping, a satisfaction guarantee, and a full refund policy, there's no better time to head over to chimera.com and start shopping for quality and affordable apparel today. Links are in the description. Thanks so much to Chimera for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. Before departing Castelia City, it's time to head to the city center where I encounter an Eevee. I name him Faraday. He's a pretty serious guy, as you can tell from his face. All business for Faraday. Now obviously, Eevee is not an electric type Pokemon yet, so I didn't want to use him for the third gym. But now that we have access to Nimbasa City, we can get a hidden Thunderstone, if you know where to look. And since I've played this game a countless number of times, I know that the Thunderstone is right here. I mean here. First try. And so, Faraday evolves into Jolteon, an amazingly fast and powerful special attacker. The last time I tried to use a Jolteon in one of my challenges, he died in literally his first battle, so my plan is to play much more safely with Jolteon this time. But, nah, I'm just kidding. Faraday is safe, for now. I also get another encounter on Route 5, an Emolga. It takes a while to find her because she can only be found in rustling grass, but when I do find her, she's an easy catch with a quick ball. Welcome to the team, Franklin. She will be immensely helpful for our team's ground-type weakness. After that, Tesla evolves into a Magneton, which is an absolutely phenomenal Pokémon, especially with Eviolite. Edison also evolves into Ampharos, who is a bit less phenomenal, if I'm being honest, but I still love him. Next up is Gym Leader number 4 against Elisa, who also uses Electric Type Pokémon. So it's time to utilize one of the best strategies in the game. Physical Jolteon, baby. Just look at that raw physical power. Elisa leads with her own Emolga, who can barely touch Faraday thanks to his Volt Absorb ability. This lets him safely set up 2 workups as he tanks some light damage from Pursuit and Quick Attack. Then Faraday knocks out the Sky Squirrel with a Thunder Fang. Elisa's Flaffy is second, so Faraday goes for a Dig. This is a little scary since both Emolga and Flaffy have Static, and Electric types can still be paralyzed in this generation. But Faraday is holding a Cherry Berry, so Static would have had to activate both times for this to be an issue. After Flaffy goes down, Zebstrika comes out, but she too gets outsped and one-shot by a single Dig, netting us a dominant victory against Elisa. That's badge number 4. After the battle, Elisa generously turns my self-confidence dial up to 11 by walking down the catwalk with me as a crowd of adoring fans chant my name and give me compliments. Video games truly are a much-needed break from reality. Anywho, it's time for the biggest challenge of the run. But before that, I can head into Chargestone Cave and get another encounter. Unfortunately, there's actually 2 electric types in Chargestone Cave, but since this is still a Nuzlocke, I can only catch the first one that I find, which is a Joltik. So no Electros for this attempt, though the odds were pretty slim of getting one anyways. Joltik is a pretty cool Pokemon though, and it at least takes neutral damage from ground type attacks. I name the quirky little cutie pie Watt, and he joins the team. His ability is Unnerve instead of Compound Eyes, which is a bit disappointing, but there's not much that can be done about that. I also decide to level up Tesla inside Chargestone Cave, so that he evolves into Magnezone. Some of you might be preparing to write a comment right now about how Eviolite Magneton is better than Magnezone, and although in some ways that's true since Magneton is faster than Magnezone and has marginally better bulk because of Eviolite, I would argue that Magnezone is better almost exclusively because without holding Eviolite, they are able to hold a nether item, whether that be leftovers for passive recovery, or most notably, gems. Gems are a held item from Generation 5 that give a one-time 50% power increase to a move of a specific type. With Magnezone's already monstrous special attack, Discharge with an electric gem or Flash Cannon with a steel gem does just a stupid amount of damage. And since gems can be farmed from dust clouds within Chargestone Cave, they're effectively limitless with the right amount of, patience. Yeah, patience and dedication. Anyways, these gems are going to be incredibly important going forward, starting first with the fight against Clay and his ground types. You can see how this might be quite the problem for our electric type Pokemon. Fortunately, Franklin is immune to ground type attacks, and I have access to one air balloon, which gives one of my Pokemon a ground type immunity until they're hit by another move. Plus, Tesla has Sturdy, so he can't be one-shot. So there's a little bit of wiggle room here, but it's still pretty terrifying. Clay leads with a Krokorok though, and I lead Tesla, who is able to outspeed and instantly kill him with a Signal Beam that we learned from the move tutor. Clay brings out Sandslash next, so I use a Steel Gem boosted Mirror Shot to take out the Sandslash in one shot. I think that was a roll, and Mirror Shot could have missed, so that was lucky, though I did have some contingency plans if we missed. Last for Clay is Excadrill, easily his scariest Pokemon. But I've got a plan. I start by switching to Edison, who's flying high with an air balloon, meaning that he's immune to Excadrill's nasty bulldoze. This then forces Excadrill to go for Rock Slide, which causes Edison to flinch, meaning that Edison's air balloon pops and he does not get off the Fire Punch. That's bad. Really bad. Faraday has Dig with a ground gem, but it only does about 75% without any boosts, meaning that we needed that damage from Edison's Fire Punch to guarantee the kill. When planning this, I just didn't think about the potential for Rock Slide to flinch, which was dumb since there was a 30% chance, which is not that low. Though I'm not sure if there was even a better option. So now I've got 2 plays, both of which will require a sack. With Edison's air balloon popped, Excadrill will go for a Bulldoze. If I let Edison go down, I can get a safe switch into Tesla, tank a Bulldoze thanks to Sturdy, and then hit a Mirror Shot, which might do enough damage to put Excadrill in range to a Dig, if it hits. I can then switch through Franklin to get a semi-safe switch into Faraday on a Rock Slide, though a critical hit Rock Slide could still potentially kill since his defense is so low. Plus, with Tesla at 1 HP on the switch, Excadrill will likely just go for a random move instead of guaranteeing Bulldoze, which means I could be switching Franklin in on a Rock Slide, which will most likely kill, resulting in 2 deaths. That's option 1. Option 2 is immediately switching to Franklin on a Bulldoze and hitting the Excadrill with a Flying Gem boosted Acrobatics, which definitely does enough to kill Excadrill. But then of course a Rock Slide will kill Franklin in return. Sadly, option 2 seems like the much better play. Franklin is more useful than Edison thanks to her flying type, but I can't risk 2 deaths here. Plus, this way we at least get a completely safe switch into Faraday. So unfortunately, my adorable, sweet, perfect little angel comes in on a Bulldoze. She fires off a Flying Gem boosted Acrobatics into Excadrill, dealing the damage we need. And then, a Rock Slide connects, and she meets the same fate as an incestual Lannister. Faraday comes in for the revenge kill, and with a Ground Gem boosted dig, Excadrill falls, winning us the 5th gym badge. But it's hard to celebrate this victory with it coming at the expense of one of our teammates' lives. Franklin was only on the team for a short time, but she certainly made an impact. And what's perhaps most frustrating is that she had so much life left to live, and so much value in future fights to come. To the point where I thought about resetting now to save me the pain of dealing with every random ground type that comes my way. But that's not what Franklin would have wanted. When Benjamin Franklin, her namesake, got electrocuted by a flying kite in a thunderstorm or whatever, did he give up? No. He went on to invent things like the bifocals and daylight savings, one of which isn't completely outdated and stupid. Benjamin Franklin taught us that if we persevere, then we too can become important enough that obscure facts about our life will be vital to the plot of National Treasure. And Franklin the Sky Squirrel lived a life worthy of that notion. So for her, and for her memory, we soldier on. Every time we face a ground type or a Pokemon with a ground type move, we'll remember her and her sacrifice. So long, Franklin. The next gym is against Skyla and her flying types, so at the very least we shouldn't have too much trouble against her. Before that though, I get my 6th or 5th team member, a Zebstrika from Route 7. I name him Volta. The man is quite serious, as is most of our team now after the death of their friend. Volta will be our strongest physical attacker, though his move pool leaves a lot to be desired. Anyways, now it's time for Skyla. It's almost not worth mentioning though. Faraday kills the Swoobat with a single discharge. For whatever reason, poor man's Quaxley comes out second, so she too gets one shot by a discharge. Last is Skarmory, and since she has Sturdy, she survives a discharge and goes for an agility. This is a little annoying since Skyla now heals with a Hyper Potion as we proc Sturdy with another discharge. But this one paralyzes, so then on the next turn we still outspeed Skarmory and knock her out, winning us a damageless 6 gym badge. After that, we head to Lentamos Town. In Lentamos Town, there's a move tutor that can teach my Pokemon Magnet Rise, which is a move that makes the user immune to ground-type attacks. This will be absolutely essential for the rest of the playthrough. We then have to make our way through Reversal Mountain, which has an absolutely terrifying, unavoidable double battle that I have to do with Bianca. The reason it's so scary is because these two trainers have a Darmanitan and an Excadrill. Most of my Pokemon are defensively weak, making Darmanitan a huge threat. And as you just saw from the fight against Clay, Excadrill is a pain since he resists most of our attacks and has Earthquake. I try to prep for this fight as best as I can, but I end up screwing it up a bit by forgetting to teach my Pokemon a few key moves. So after taking down the Backpacker's Golbat with a Volt Switch from Tesla, I find myself staring down a Darmanitan with Watt at very low HP. Also, I totally risked Watt to a critical hit Rock Slide from Boldore there. This Darmanitan knows Flare Blitz, which will absolutely kill anything on my team if it crits, other than Tesla, technically, thanks to Sturdy. So I'm feeling dreadfully certain that something will go down here as I bring in my least important teammate, Volta. No offense, Volta. But then Darmanitan just goes for a Hammer Arm into Musharna for some reason. No idea why. Bianca's Musharna then kills the Boldore with an Energy Ball, so now we're facing Darmanitan and Excadrill. I go for a Magnet Rise, hoping that Excadrill will just use Earthquake and kill his partner, but he just goes for a Slash on Musharna. And then Darmanitan goes for a Flare Blitz on Musharna, who hangs on with 1 HP and fires off an Energy Ball into Excadrill. So, on the next turn, an Electric Gem boosted Spark kills the Darmanitan, and then Excadrill goes for a Rock Slide, which Volta dodges, though it does kill Musharna. So Bianca's Mienfoo comes out, but it doesn't really matter because somehow a Flame Charge from Volta is enough to kill the Excadrill, winning us a battle that I absolutely did not deserve to win Deathless. I'm shocked that Darmanitan went for Hammer Arm there, but thankfully it did because it very likely saved Volta's life. With that, we can fast forward to the fight against Drayden for badge number 7. He has Dragon types, which resist Electric types, and one of his dragons, Flygon, knows Earth Power, which is obviously bad. So the plan is to get Faraday into a position where he can set up with workups and sweep his team with Hyper Voice. So I lead with Edison into Drayden's Druddigon. I immediately use a Growl to lower his attack as Druddigon goes for a Crunch. Thanks to the Growl and the leftovers, it doesn't do much. Then I hit Druddigon with a Thunder Wave, which instantly triggers a full paralysis. So then it's another Growl and Druddigon hits a Crunch. Obviously, I'm at risk to crits here, but I didn't think I had any other plays. After another Growl and shrugging off another Crunch, I go for a Confuse Ray, which causes Druddigon to hit himself in Confusion. Then it's another Growl and the Druddigon hits himself in Confusion again. So now it's a fifth Growl, and Druddigon hits himself in Confusion for a third time. Given that Druddigon is clearly constructed out of Duplos, it's no surprise that he's easily confused. After a sixth Growl, Druddigon finally breaks through Confusion and hits a Revenge, which now does about as much damage as lightly lobbing a Duplo at someone would do. They're incredibly safe toys for young children. Duplo sponsor me. At this point, I go for a Cotton Guard, cause why not, and then Druddigon snaps out of Confusion and gets fully paralyzed. Loser. So I confuse him with another Confuse Ray on the next turn, and then he hits himself in Confusion again. This has got to be so frustrating for Drayden. I decide that now is a safe time to switch to Faraday and start setting up some workups. We will need to dodge a few critical hits as we set up the workups, but with Confusion and Paralysis, the odds are... Okay, well that's not great. I mean, admittedly, that was never really a great plan, and it was super stupid to set up Cotton Guard with Edison, because that's likely what baited Druddigon to use Dragon Tail. It was also dumb to switch straight to Jolteon instead of waiting for Druddigon to hopefully Dragon Tail him in for free. So I guess I'm lucky that I didn't get as punished as I could have. At least Faraday survived the Dragon Tail crit, so he does live to fight another day. Okay, well now it's time to improvise. I start by hitting Druddigon with an Electro Ball, which does good damage since Druddigon is paralyzed, making him about as slow as the development of a child who hasn't gotten daily intellectual stimulation from the unlimited creativity of playing with Duplo building blocks. Druddigon then hits a Crunch through Parafusion in return. Then I switch back to Edison as Druddigon then hits himself in Confusion again. Maybe it's Edison that's causing Druddigon to be confused. I mean, I too am pretty confused by Ampharos as a Pokemon. Is it hairless? Why does it have flippers? Is that one big toenail on each foot? Why does this sprite of Ampharos have eyes that are more haunting and soulless than anything someone could intentionally create? Well, I have no idea why I switched to Edison here, because I then immediately switched to Tesla on the next turn, and what do you know? Druddigon snaps out of Confusion and hits a Crunch. Then I use Magnet Rise so that Flygon can't hit Tesla with Earth Power, and Tesla tanks a soft Revenge. Then a Signal Beam finishes off the Druddigon. So next is the Flygon. But since it can't hit us with Earth Power now, it just goes for Rock Slide, which this time doesn't flinch, so a Steel Gem boosted Flash Cannon knocks out Flygon in one shot. Last is Haxorus, but he too can't do much to Tesla. A Flash Cannon hits Haxorus hard, which activates a Citrus Berry, and then a Dragon Tail switches in Watt. So, with a Bug Gem boosted Signal Beam, Haxorus falls, winning us the 7th Gym Badge. In hindsight, the Faraday setup plan was a pretty terrible idea. So now is when the story of Black 2 and White 2 starts to pick up, and you have to do about 50 different Team Plasma fights. Most of them are completely superfluous, so let's just jump to the 8th and final Gym Badge against Marlin, who has Water types. Now you'd think that this would be an absolute walk in the park, right? I mean, I did. They're Water types. Marlin leads with a Caracosta, and I lead Faraday holding an Expert Belt, who brings Caracosta down to Sturdy. He gets off a Shell Smash, which is a great move, but even at +2 speed, Caracosta isn't fast enough to outspeed Jolteon, who is one of the fastest Pokemon in the game. So after some healing from Marlin, we take Caracosta down with a few more discharges. Then it's Wailord, but the big fish also goes down to a single discharge. Last is Mr. Pringles. So I hit a discharge, which does leave Jellicent in the red. Then Jellicent's Curse Body activates, which disables Faraday's discharge, which at the moment is his only Electric type attacking move. Jellicent also hits a hard Scald, which causes a burn. Since I can't kill this thing now, I need to switch. I bring in Edison since he has the best special defense on our team. And then Jellicent goes for Recover. Jellicent then outspeeds Edison and hits a Scald, which also burns. Edison fires back with a discharge, but now I'm at risk to another critical hit here, so I have to switch to Tesla. Jellicent then gets a critical hit Scald, so thankfully I did switch. Now fortunately Tesla is able to outspeed and kill the Jellicent with a discharge, but man did Mr. Pringles put in work. 30% Curse Body activation, 2 30% burns, and a 6.25% critical hit. Even so, that's the 8th and final Gym Badge. Alright, let's hop to the final fight against Ghetsis. Everything before that is pretty easy. Kyurem Black wasn't an issue either, since he goes down to 2 Flash Cannons from Tesla and can't do much in return. Ghetsis, though, has a few scary Pokemon that we need to play around, including a Seismitoad and a Drapion with Earthquake. He leads with Kofagrigus, though, so in comes Tesla. I start with a Magnet Rise as Kofagrigus goes for a soft Shadow Ball. We also recover some HP back with leftovers. Then we hit Kofagrigus with a Discharge for over half health as we tank another Shadow Ball. We both have leftovers here, but the recovery isn't enough to save Kofagrigus from going down to another Discharge. This now brings in Seismitoad. Since we have Magnet Rise set up, Seismitoad is likely to go for Drain Punch. This gives me what I think is a safe switch into Watt. Unfortunately, Seismitoad goes for Muddy Water instead, which does connect and lowers my accuracy. This is where Compound Eyes would be amazing, if I had it. Fortunately, we still connect with a Giga Drain, which one-shots Seismitoad and gains Watt back a huge chunk of HP. I think if we had missed that Giga Drain though, it would have been game over. Overall, this has been a very lucky playthrough. Or rather, it's been a very not unlucky playthrough. Electros comes out next as Watt stares down what he could have been in another life. Since this has Flamethrower, I switch to Edison, but Ghetsis continues to choose bizarre moves and hits Edison with an Acrobatics instead. I then hit Electros with a Thunder Wave to paralyze him as he retaliates with a pretty strong Crunch. So time to risk some crits. I start with a Growl to lower Electros' attack as we survive another Crunch. Then I switch to Volta as Electros gets fully paralyzed. Then I do just a bit of damage with Flame Charge as Volta tanks a Flamethrower. Then I switch to Faraday, who gets hit by another Flamethrower. So now it's time to risk some more crits. I do need to set up workups here. 2 of them. After the first, Electros hits a Crunch. No crit. So I go for a second workup. And no crit. Again, I think if we get crit here and Faraday goes down, it's also game over. But now, thanks to the chip from Flame Charge, a Hyper Voice kills Electros. Then Drapion comes out threatening with Earthquake, which is why I didn't just kill the Electros willy-nilly. With the workup boosts, a Discharge is now enough to one-shot the Drapion before it gets off an Earthquake. And so next is Hydreigon, but for whatever reason Ghetsis' Hydreigon is physical, and therefore completely walled by Tesla. So I switch him in on a Crunch. Then Hydreigon hits a fairly hard Dragon Rush as Tesla retaliates with a Flash Cannon. Leftovers recovery means that we'll likely survive even a critical hit Dragon Rush here, but Hydreigon just misses, so another Flash Cannon finishes him off. So last is Toxicroak. I switch to Watt, who gets hit by a Brick Break. Then I go for a Volt Switch to do a chunk of damage to Toxicroak and bring Tesla back in, who's immune to the Poison Jab. So, since we have a bit of speed on Tesla, he's now able to outspeed and finish off the Toxicroak with a Flash Cannon, winning us the battle. There were some close calls there, but in the end, we made it through in one piece. That now gets me to Victory Road, where the final rival fight awaits. This one's scary since his Bouffalant has Earthquake and all his other Pokemon hit really hard as well. Fortunately, there's only 4 of them. He leads with his Unfezant, so I lead with Watt. A Volt Switch from Watt is enough for the one-shot. This also lets me bring in Faraday, which baits in the Bouffalant with Earthquake. So I use an Electric Gem boosted Volt Switch to bring Bouffalant down to half health and bring in Tesla, who will survive any attack from Bouffalant thanks to Sturdy. But Bouffalant just goes for Head Smash. So, on the next turn we outspeed and hit an Electric Gem boosted Volt Switch to knock out Bouffalant, and also bring in Edison for free. Simisear comes out next for our rival. He hits a hard Flamethrower, and then Edison sets up a Rain Dance, which is ultimately not all that useful since on the next turn, Simisear goes for a Crunch, which would have killed if it crit. Fortunately it didn't, so I'm able to hit a Volt Switch and bring in Faraday. So on the next turn, another Volt Switch finishes off Simisear, and allows me to bring in Watt, as our rival brings in Serperior. And so, with a Bug Gem boosted Signal Beam, Watt one-shots the Oh, never mind. Okay, I thought it would. Well, Serperior just sets up a Coil, so after a Max Potion, 2 more Signal Beams finish off the Serperior, winning us the final rival fight. If you couldn't tell here, Volt Switch is a phenomenal move. After the fight, our rival also gives us the TM for Thunderbolt, so I can now finally start using that instead of Discharge for a bit more power. And with that, we're at the Elite Four. Here's our final team, leveled up to the level cap of 58 to match the aces of each of the Elite Four members. Let's see if these 5 have what it takes to avenge Franklin and become champions. First up is Chantel, who is almost always one of the 2 easiest Elite Four members in every single Black 2 Nuzlocke that I do. And it's no different here. After Faraday sets up a single workup against her Kofagrigus, Expert Belt Shadow Balls cleanly one-shot all 4 of her Pokemon. We do have to deal with burn damage, but that's more annoying than anything else. What's also nice is that by the time all 4 of her Pokemon go down, Faraday has leveled up to level 59, which again is fine since the level cap ends at the start of the Elite Four. Okay, next up is Grimsley. His Crocodile is kinda scary, as is his Scrafty, but it's nothing a bit of clever Volt switches can't handle. First up is Grimsley's Liepard, so I lead with Watt. Liepard, it's a critical hit fake out, which is pretty annoying, but then on the next turn a Signal Beam cleanly knocks her out. Then Scrafty comes out. I assume it's going for a Rock Tomb, so I go for a Volt Switch, which gets a critical hit, and then I bring in Tesla. Even with the speed drop from Rock Tomb, Tesla outspeeds, but unfortunately Grimsley heals here, so our Electric Gem boosted Volt Switch doesn't kill the Scrafty. I bring in Watt though, and then a Thunderbolt finishes her off. That brings in Crocodile third, but Watt now hits another Expert Belt Signal Beam to cleanly knock her out before she can get off a Rock Slide. So last is Bisharp, who is completely walled by Tesla. So I Volt Switch for some damage, and then bring Tesla in on a Night Slash. Then we just outspeed and kill the Bisharp with another Thunderbolt, netting us an easy victory. Third is Caitlyn. Ideally, I want to get 2 workups off with Faraday so that he can Shadow Ball sweep Caitlyn's entire team, but her Musharna wants to put Faraday to sleep so that she can just hit him with Dream Eater. So I need to stall her out of yawns by switching between Faraday and Volta. Fortunately, this is completely safe to do so, because Musharna only knows Dream Eater and Charge Beam for attacking moves, the latter of which Faraday and Volta are completely immune to. So it just takes forever. It also ends up taking way longer than it should because at one point I decide to hit Musharna with a Thunderbolt for some damage so that Faraday cleanly knocks her out after just 2 workups instead of needing 3. This causes Musharna to get paralyzed, and her Synchronize ability causes Volta to get paralyzed as well, meaning that Musharna now gets fully paralyzed a lot and will no longer go for Yawn when Volta is out. So that was dumb and made this stall take more than twice as long as it should have. But eventually, Musharna runs out of Yawn PP, Faraday gets off his workups, and then we sweep all the way through Caitlyn's special defensively bulky Pokemon. That was fun. Okay, so last up is easily the hardest of the Elite Four members, Marshall. Our main physically defensive Pokemon is weak to fighting type moves, so this is definitely scary. Marshall leads with Throw, and I lead with Watt. Watt baits a Rock Tomb, so we use an Electric Gem boosted Volt Switch, which crits for the 2nd time in this Elite Four challenge. Watt goes hard. I bring in Faraday, who shrugs off the Rock Tomb. Marshall heals here, so I do have to waste an Electric Gem as I hit Throw with a Thunderbolt. Then a Volt Switch outspeeds and finishes off the Throw on the next turn, and I safely bring in Watt. This causes Conkeldurr to come out, so I hit a Volt Switch for a good chunk of damage, and then I bring in Tesla, who shrugs off the baited Stone Edge. Seriously, this Volt Switch combo of Watt and Tesla is insane. An Electric Gem boosted Volt Switch finishes off Conkeldurr and lets me safely bring Watt back in again. This now baits Sock, who's going to use Rock Slide, so I Volt Switch for a great amount of damage and then bring in Edison. I can't actually go back to Tesla here because Sock outspeeds. Sock then hits a really hard Brick Break, which would have killed if it crit, so that wasn't great. I also go for a Rain Dance here, which is just a misplay. I thought for a second that I had taught Faraday Thunder, but I didn't. Fortunately, a Static Paralysis from Brick Break means I go unpunished because I can now outspeed Sock and use Volt Switch to bring in Watt, who tanks a Brick Break. Then I just kill Sock on the next turn with a Thunderbolt. So last is Mienshao. Unfortunately, a critical hit from High Jump Kick will still kill Watt here, since he has pretty lousy defense. So I have no choice but to Volt Switch for some damage and bring in Volta. Volta gets hit by a High Jump Kick, but mercifully survives in the red. This then lets him finish off the Mienshao with a Volt Switch on the next turn, winning us the 4th and final Elite Four fight. Okay, the ending of that last one was a little sloppy, but with that, we've made it to the final fight against Champion Iris. This is the last stand, the shocking conclusion. Just 6 Pokemon stand between us and glory. One way or another, our electrifying journey ends here. Iris leads with her Hydreigon, so I lead Faraday, and the plan is simple. Set up a workup as Hydreigon goes for a Dragon Pulse, which will never kill even if it crits. Then a Bug Gem boosted Signal Beam knocks out the Mighty Dragon. Faraday's pure electric typing baits out all of Iris's Pokemon with Earthquake. So first is Aggron, whose paper thin special defense means that she falls to a single +1 Thunderbolt. And then it's Iris's ace, her mighty Focus Sash Haxorus. And so, as all good things must, it's time for my journey with Faraday to come to an end. She fires off a Thunder Wave to paralyze Haxorus, and then it instantly gets fully paralyzed. Okay, but now Faraday fires off a Signal Beam for a chunk of damage, and then Haxorus fires back with a devastating Earthquake. Say hi to Franklin for me. Our victory will be in honor of both of you. With our good pupper's valiant sacrifice, Tesla is able to come in safely and cleanly finish off the Haxorus with a steel gem boosted flash cannon. After that, Druddigon comes in. So I use Volt Switch for a bit of damage and bring in Edison, who tanks a very hard focus blast that shockingly doesn't miss. Though continuous stimulation from Duplo building blocks has been shown to improve numerous key metrics of childhood development, including hand-eye coordination, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised that she doesn't miss. Edison has been put in positions where he has to dodge critical hits all playthrough, and it's time for him to dodge another one here. I set up a Rain Dance as Druddigon goes for a Rock Slide, which puts Edison in the red as he does indeed dodge a critical hit. It might actually be best to let Edison go down here, but there's been enough death today. So I Volt Switch for some chip damage as Druddigon misses a Rock Slide. Kinda ruins my whole Duplo's thing from 5 seconds ago, but whatever. We hit Druddigon with another Volt Switch from Tesla. The rain means that Druddigon should now always go for Focus Blast instead of Flamethrower, so Watt is safe on the switch. And so a Bug Gem boosted Signal Beam is enough to finish off the Druddigon. Fifth for Iris's Archeops, but Watt is a speedy little bugger and instantly knocks him out with a 100% accurate Thunder. So, last for Iris is her Lapra. The rain stopped, so I can't go for Thunder anymore. So it's just a Volt Switch for a good chunk of damage as I bring in Volta so that he can also contribute to the champion fight. Okay, well Volta falls asleep, so I switch to Tesla on an Ice Beam. And then, with one final Thunderbolt, Tesla knocks out Iris's last Pokemon, winning us the battle and the run. That was a fun one. It's a small miracle that I managed to do that in one attempt, especially after losing Franklin so early, but it does feel nice to have some good luck for a change. Electric types are so interesting because they hit so hard, but tend to be pretty frail. I think if I also had access to Electros and Electivire, that would have made things a little bit easier, since both of those Pokemon are a little more bulky. But it's always a blast to play Black 2 and White 2, and I think these were probably the best games for an Electric type Monolock. Except for maybe Sword and Shield, the Wild Area and DLC make those games so much easier to do Monolocks in. But anyways, with this video, that's now 12 types down. 6 more to go. I'm hoping to get a Monolock of every type out by the end of the year, but I'm still trying to figure out which games I want to do for the remaining types. Plus, I want to mix in some other Monolocks using types that I've previously done before, as well as continuing to do more unique challenges. As always, if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. Until then, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching, please like the video and subscribe. Or don't, I don't know, but I do know that you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up with streams of my future challenges. You should also subscribe to my highlights channel to get highlights of the challenge I'm currently streaming before it's cut down to a video on the main channel. And also be sure to join the Flag on HG community Discord, where you can discuss Nuzlocking and contribute to future challenges. The links are in the description below. Stay tuned for more Nuzlocke videos, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.